Hey guys, happy Sunday. I hope you're all well and groovy whatever you're doing. I just want to start this video just giving the biggest amount of love, compassion, gratitude and respect to every single one of you. I think it's important to put that at the beginning as a disclaimer because we're living in a society that has been trained to be triggered and offended by absolutely everything. So I wanted to put that first, okay? And I wanted to talk a little bit today about fear and the opposite of fear, which is faith. And how we can overstand a situation, or, how to have overstanding of a situation from an elevated state, which would mean we need to let go of fear and open our hearts to different possibilities. And that involves our perception and what we feel is true against what is actually true. And I know that one thing is for sure, we can't change this situation we find ourselves in at the moment with fear. You can't pull it out by the root with the same energy used to create it. There needs to be a change. I'm going to say that again, okay? We can't solve this situation we're in with fear. We can't pull it out by the root with the same energy used to create it. When people are living in fear, growth will struggle to happen. I've seen fear create irrational thinking and a lot of judgment. And that's quite obvious to me, although to a certain extent it's understandable. Are we seeing en masse compassion, logic and overstanding? Or decisions made out of anxiety, fear and peer pressure? Since when do adults acquiesce to peer pressure? That alone makes me question things a little bit. A lot, actually. En masse, I'm seeing political ideology and charged motives playing out with financial gain and a breach of human rights at the heart of it. Now, this has been going on for a long time, guys, and some of you might be rolling your eyes at this, but I cannot sit by and say nothing anymore. 20 years I've elevated myself to see what is going on around me. And I was that young boy in the 80s gyrating to Michael Jackson, copying dance moves to inverted lyrics such as bad, sick, dangerous, wicked, which are all inverted terminology for good. It seems that we've come to a space where it's okay for children as young as 3 to gyrate in a sexual manner and dance to WAP on TikTok. It's okay to hear disgusting lyrics on the radio, condoning sexual violence towards women and just violence in general. And that isn't taken down. Now, guys, I'm not even giving the moral high ground here. I'm just putting perspective to it. Let's go back to 2012. And if you watch the Grammys, you'll see Nicki Minaj, as I call her, Nicki Minaj. You see, she turned up to the ceremony with a bishop. She then began her song, Roman Holiday. You can check the lyrics yourself. But on her performance, she was exorcised by a Catholic priest, she was levitated, and she was gyrating choir boys. Now, I wonder if that would have had the same level of acceptance had that have been towards any different religion other than Christianity. But I also realised it for what the inversion that it was intended to be. Another big player at the moment is Madge, and she's probably the biggest sellout of them all. And every major performance of hers over the last 10 years has had a similar reoccurring theme as well. Remember the performance a few years ago when she was pulled off stage by a cloak? You see the dancers, what they were wearing. And also, if you fast forward to 2 years ago, look at her Eurovision Song Contest performance. That rang alarm bells for me straight away. Not to mention the comments if you want to look at it. Now, because this entertainment has become normalised, does it make it right when we see some girl bands, major girl bands, some of the biggest girl bands in the world, dressing around on stage in next to nothing, talking about giving themselves up and prancing around screaming feminism? But is it? I ask the question, where is real consciousness in music at the moment? You might get the odd artist, but where is it on a mass level? Where are the Marleys? Where are the Lennons? Where are the Lauryn Hills? Where are the Akalas? They're not getting radio play. It's the same monotonous rubbish with the same messages. Sometimes I have to speak in code a little bit because I might be taken off. But then you've got the young Tekashi 69s of the world who, if you look at their history, have got a history of doing things with minors, and the vulgarity in their lyrics shocks me. And yet these are role models to our children. And when you scrape the surface and look at what these false idols do and what they spout in their lyrics, this is just another form of programming to kids. But yet that is seemed okay and it's not really thought about as such. The way people have become accustomed to celebritards and the MTV generation and the culture really does concern me. You know, TOWIE, Love Island, you know, people have committed suicide being on them shows. I was offered a few times 10 years ago roles in these programs, or one of these programs, two of these programs, and I turned them down and was told I was crazy for doing so. But it just didn't resonate with me because it breeds a certain mentality. I'm seeing lost young people copying what they see on TV with severe mental health issues because of it. And is this where we've got to, guys? Where we completely believe what we see on the television program or the TV channel? You know, we won't go on about vibrational linguistics and words and the introverted meaning behind words or the reason why it's called spelling. We'll leave that for another day. But I see, in my work, I've seen erosion of family values. And because it's widespread and normalised, does that make it right? I was wrapped up in it once upon a time as well. I'm not saying I wasn't. I see people with these on their face, pointing to posters on the underground with the captions, "When are we getting back to normal?" When's London going to return back to normal? Yet how can we return to normal with the same mindset used to divide us? How can we go back to normal if you're waiting for someone in a suit who is paid to spread info and tell you it on the news a date in advance? You're an adult, so when did you lose the choice to decide what was right for you and your family? Normality starts at home, guys. You want normal, then start acting normally. I see people up in arms protesting that they know the light, they know God, they're believers. So why then are you partaking in such an unholy system? It just doesn't make sense to me anymore. It never really did. The discrimination I've seen against mothers, old people and children is shocking. Would you treat someone with HIV or Ebola the same way? The opposite of fear is faith. And I choose to live by faith because it feels right. It feels more aligned. But yet we all have choices, and I'm not going to say to do anything that you don't resonate with. But yet don't expect me to either. These cause permanent states of fear, and it's non-stop. I now listen to people, even just yesterday, walking into an empty coffee shop with a lady with one of these on, and she just said to me that, oh, it's normal now, I would feel different without it. So what when these become electronic, when you've got Bluetooth wired up to it and you've got vocalizers and lights flashing on the mouthpiece? People laugh at me when I say that. But yeah, Darth Vader, it's not too far away. But yet these same people laughed at me when I have been saying for years that this is what was going to happen. In fact, it's triggered a lot of anger and resentment in people for me even daring to have an opinion that was a little bit more aligned to what I truly feel rather than this. It's just crazy because having the experimental vaccine, people think that they're going to get their rights back. People think if they do this and do this, then they're going to get their rights back. But on legislation, that isn't the case. I'm tired of listening to half-truths. I'm tired of the one-sided opinions from a majority who claim their core values lie in respect, equality and tolerance, because I'm not seeing too much of that from them at the moment. And it is unjustified in my opinion. So why we're creating apartheid in schools and asking children who do not want to do this to sit at the back of the class, what happens to the rest? What happens to them all? How are they going through their day, guys? Are they going through their day with the best mindset, able to be empowered and fully learn? Of course not. I just see a fear mindset rather than people being empowered by truth. 99.07, guys, 99.07 survival rate. So to push this on adults in workplaces and on planes, I just don't see how that is fair. I'm seeing teachers lose their jobs through speaking out. I'm seeing frontline doctors and healthcare professionals silenced around the world. What have they got to lose by lying? Their reputations are now in ruins. Now, because this situation we find ourselves in and the information that's being pushed is widespread and normalised in schools and in the workplace, does that make it right? I went to a toilet in in Victoria the other day, and it was deserted, and I went into the toilet and I came out and there was no queues, nothing. There was just barricades down the middle, and I went out the wrong way and I got shouted at. And I just said to the guy, come on, there's no one here. If there was a busy queue, I could understand, but is it really warranted to shout at me because I went the wrong way on the coming out? You know, people are just reacting, and I just say, are we human beings or human doings? You know, I'm just doing my job. Well, I'm just doing mine. I was in a supermarket last week, an empty supermarket, guys, and I had a man, an old overweight man who looked sweaty. He smashed into my trolley and began to tell me about myself because I wasn't acquiescing to this. Had it have been very busy and I chose to weigh out the pros and cons, I may have reacted differently. But I have been non-drinking for 6 months. I have been vegetarian for nearly a year now, and my trolley is plant-based, okay? This guy's trolley was full of alcohol, chocolate, not one vegetable or fruit in sight. So then what gives him the right to tell me about health and safety? You know, to boost immune systems, we're told fear separation, needles, pills, medicine, and no sunlight. But what about exercise, laughter, connection, positivity, a healthy diet? Does that not count for anything these days? What we're told, it may be common, but it isn't sense. But again, it comes back to vibration, guys. We can't change situations with fear. We can't grow from fear. We need to take a leap of faith and change our perceptions a little bit. How can we grow together if we're constantly being pulled apart? Faith and fear, I don't believe, can coexist at the same time, in the same situation. We need to make a choice, or more informed choices. We have to be the change that we want to see in society. And is this behaviour really the change we want to pass down to our children and our children's children, with no question? Yeah, sorry if you think I'm rambling, guys. I just had to get this off my chest. You know, I know so many people who went to a peaceful demonstration in London yesterday, and again, riot police came out of nowhere and started smashing the place up, and that was all that was put in the papers. Take a few deep breaths, come into your body and ask some questions about how you want this to unfold in the future, because this will go two ways. It's going to go left and it's going to go right. It's going to be their way or his way, and I know which way I'm going. We're all going to have to learn to coexist and go through this together, regardless of opinions and choices. But we are on the planet to be free. We need to try and find a common ground and stand together on this, guys. Because all the while we're divided, the plan's worked. And I know you don't want to hear that. But if you choose to remain in this situation, listening to the minority, within the minority, who couldn't give two shits about you, and you're willing to give up everything on the say-so of someone down the end of a 12-inch, 14-inch, 20-inch screen, then that is your choice, but it's not mine, and I'm not going to feel bad for it anymore. In every single war in history, there's been casualties, and this one is no different. I have friends who understandably but blindly invest in this situation wholeheartedly without question or acknowledgement to anything else other than what they're being told. They're blinded by fear and not awoken by faith, and it's very tough to watch. It's tough to watch family. It's tough to watch friends look at you like you're a piece of dirt. You can't change or resolve the situation with the same energy you caused to create it. There needs to be a level of discernment, guys. But I'm seeing people on autopilot, scared, acting irrationally. Is that even a word? Or rationally, irrationally. And it's understandable. That is your choice. But it isn't mine. And there's millions of people who think the same. So what are we going to do? Segregate ourselves forevermore? It's not like the truth isn't out. People just don't want to see it. But again, when you look at the Ricky Gervaises of this world and you see their Golden Globe speech, it makes you think. When you listen to Mel Gibson and the Jim Carreys of this world and see how they're no longer in Hollywood and how they've been pulled out, that makes me think as well. But I know that you can't change, or you can't create change or lasting change with fear, because in the end, faith is stronger, and that is what will override it, and that is what is overriding it. Although, if you switch on the box, you'll be told otherwise. I'm not saying don't be cautious. I'm not saying don't wear what you want to wear or do what you want to do. But make sure you understand other points of view as well. I know it's a big ask. We're living in a world at the moment so fake, the truth seems to even scare people. But we need to get to a point where we need to look at things through different lenses and come up with a better way forward than this, because this for me has got to stop. I hope that kind of made sense to you guys. And again, I wish the best for every single one of you. I just feel that I'm just tired of holding on to this and seeing people who are meant to be inclusive and supportive, who are acting out of fear and taking it out on everybody else who dares to not buy into it. So, yeah, Sorry if that was a bit deep, and sorry if I rambled on a bit, guys, but I felt that I needed to say that. So thank you for listening to me, and I'll speak to you all soon. God bless. Bye.